My girlfriend declared, "We're in an open relationship now." I have been with my girlfriend, let's call her Anna, for a little over 3 years. We met through mutual friends at a party. Cliché, I know, but it really was one of those movie moments. She was standing by the snack table in this oversized hoodie, hair pulled back, laughing at some dumb joke someone told, and when our eyes met, it felt like everything else blurred out. We talked that night for hours. I walked her to her car, she gave me her number, and by the next weekend we were grabbing coffee. It was the kind of chemistry you don't fake. Neither of us were the hookup type. On one of our very first dates, she told me she'd been through a string of short-term relationships in college and was done wasting time with people who weren't serious. I felt the same. I'd had maybe 2 serious girlfriends before her, nothing that lasted longer than a year. What I wanted, and what I thought she wanted too, was stability, partnership, someone to build with. The early days were perfect. The kind of honeymoon phase people roll their eyes about because it sounds too good to be true. We'd stay up until 3 a.m. just talking, we'd cook for each other, we'd take spontaneous weekend trips. About a year and a half in, we moved in together. It felt natural, like the obvious next step. We found a little 2-bedroom apartment in a quiet neighborhood, split the rent, and started making it our home. We even adopted a cat together, Milo, a mischievous little tabby who immediately became the center of our world. I remember Anna saying, "This is our first baby," while he curled up on her lap. We laughed about it, but secretly I think we both felt the weight of that responsibility in a good way. Like, this is real. For the first 2 years, I didn't have a single doubt in my mind. We talked about the future often, sometimes joking, sometimes seriously. She said she wanted to get married one day, maybe in her late 20s. She said she wanted kids, 2, maybe 3. We talked about where we'd live long-term, how we'd travel, even about retirement. It wasn't just idle chatter. It felt like planning a shared life. Then, about 6 months ago, little cracks started showing. At first, it was subtle. Anna started making comments I didn't think much of at the time. Stuff like, "Don't you think it's natural to still find other people attractive even in a relationship?" Or, "It's weird how society pushes this idea that one person can meet all your needs forever." She started referencing articles or podcasts about alternative relationships. Polyamory, open marriages, that kind of thing. I brushed it off at first. She's always been curious and philosophical, the kind of person who likes to debate ideas over dinner just for the sake of it. So when she'd say, "Monogamy is kind of a social construct," I'd just roll my eyes and say, "Maybe, but it's my preferred construct." She'd laugh, and we'd move on, but the comments became more frequent. Once a week turned into multiple times a week. Then she started following polyamory subreddits, liking tweets about open relationships, sharing TikToks where creators talked about how monogamy is outdated. About 2 months ago, she hit me with the first real test. We were lying in bed scrolling on our phones when she asked, "Would you ever consider being with other people, like, while still being with me?" I laughed nervously, thinking it was a hypothetical, and said, "No, that's not for me." She looked at me with this unreadable expression and said, "Huh? Interesting?" Then she went back to scrolling. But something in that moment felt like a switch had flipped. From then on, it wasn't just comments. It was pressure. Subtle at first, then more direct. She'd say, "It's kind of selfish to expect one person to meet all your needs," or, "Real love is about freedom, not possession." I started to feel uneasy. I sat her down one night and said, "Look, I've noticed you've been bringing this stuff up a lot. Is there something you're not telling me?" She insisted it was just curiosity, that she was learning about different relationship models, that it didn't mean she wanted to change anything between us. She reassured me she loved me and was committed to me. I wanted to believe her. And I did, until the night she dropped the bomb. It was a random Tuesday. I'd made pasta for dinner, we poured some wine, it was supposed to be a normal evening. We were talking about work when she suddenly put her fork down, looked me dead in the eye and said, "So, I've decided we're in an open relationship now." Just like that. Flat, declarative, no discussion. At first I thought she was joking. I even laughed and said, "What do you mean you've decided?" She didn't laugh. She said word for word, "We're in an open relationship now. It's the best thing for us." I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. I said, "That's not how this works. You don't just unilaterally decide something like that." She rolled her eyes and said, "Why not?" "Relationships evolve. We've been together long enough that we can handle this. You're just scared because it's not what you're used to. I tried to keep calm, but my voice was shaking. I never agreed to this. I don't want an open relationship. We've always been on the same page about being exclusive. Her response? That's so close-minded. It's not the 1950s anymore. People don't have to cling to outdated ideas of ownership. Ownership. That word burned. That's not what I meant at all. I told her, for me, monogamy isn't about ownership. It's about choosing to commit to one person and expecting that commitment back. It's about trust. She brushed me off. You'll see. This will actually make us stronger. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Stronger? How could tearing down the foundation of what we had possibly make us stronger? I told her, if you want an open relationship, that's your choice. But I don't consent to it. I won't be in a relationship like that. That's when she got angry. She accused me of trying to control her. Said I was manipulative for threatening to leave. I said I wasn't threatening, just setting a boundary. She stormed off to the bedroom. I slept on the couch that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if the person I loved had been replaced by a stranger. The next morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Made coffee, hummed a tune, asked if I wanted oat milk or regular. When I tried to bring it up, she said, "Let's not ruin the morning with heavy stuff." That's when I realized she wasn't looking for discussion. In her mind, the decision was already made. And that's how I found myself in this bizarre, limbo-like state where my girlfriend insists we're in an open relationship, without my agreement, and I'm stuck trying to figure out if I'm crazy for refusing to accept it. Because here's the thing, she's confident. So confident that it makes me second-guess myself. She tells me I'll come around, that this is growth, that my resistance is just fear. But every time I picture her with someone else, I feel like I'm being ripped apart, and now I'm stuck asking myself, am I the asshole for holding the line? For refusing to accept this unilateral declaration? For saying, no, that's not what I signed up for? Because she's making me feel like I'm the villain here. Like I'm some insecure, controlling caveman clinging to outdated rules. But to me, love has always meant mutual agreement. Two yeses. Not one person declaring the rules and the other being dragged along, and if I'm wrong, then what does that say about everything I believed love was supposed to be? The days after her declaration were some of the most surreal of my life. It felt like I was living in two parallel realities. One where I still had the girlfriend I knew and loved, and another where she had already moved on to a lifestyle I never signed up for. On Wednesday, she kissed me goodbye before leaving for work like nothing was wrong. On Thursday, she texted me a meme about cats as if the night before hadn't happened. On Friday, she came home with a bottle of wine and said we should do a movie night together. It was so confusing. I kept thinking maybe she had a weird phase. Maybe she'll snap out of it. But then Saturday rolled around. I was playing a game on the couch when she came out of the bedroom dressed up. Makeup. Heels, the kind of outfit she used to wear when we were first dating. She looked amazing, and for a second I thought maybe she was doing it for me. "Wow," I said. "You look incredible. Where are we going?" She smiled, adjusting her earrings in the mirror. "We're not going anywhere. I've got a date tonight." I blinked, thinking I misheard. "A date?" "Yeah," she said casually, like she was saying she was grabbing coffee with a friend. "Don't wait up." And with that, she grabbed her bag and walked out. I sat there, controller in hand, staring at the door. The silence in the apartment felt like it was pressing down on me. My stomach turned. I couldn't believe this was real. That the woman I'd built a life with just told me she was going on a date while I sat at home waiting. I texted my best friend Jake, who has always been my sounding board. I told him everything. His response was immediate. "Dude, she's cheating. She's trying to rebrand it as an open relationship so she doesn't feel guilty. You need to get out." I wanted to dismiss him, but deep down I knew he was right. Still, part of me was desperate to believe Anna wasn't capable of outright betrayal. I rationalized, maybe she really believes this is the future. Maybe she's just swept up in a trend. Maybe it's not as malicious as Jake thinks, but that didn't make it hurt less. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, Milo curled up at my feet, staring at the clock until I heard the door unlock at 2 a.m. She came in smelling like perfume and alcohol, humming under her breath. I sat up and asked, "Did you really go on a date?" She looked at me like I was being ridiculous. "Yes, I told you." "Don't act surprised. Do you hear yourself?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Do you understand how much this hurts me?" She sighed. You're being dramatic. I'm not doing anything wrong. I told you, this is part of growth. If you just let go of your jealousy, you'd see this could actually bring us closer. Closer. That word broke me. How could she think that leaving me alone while she went out with someone else would bring us closer? I told her I couldn't handle it. She rolled her eyes and said, "That's your problem, not mine." The next day, I crashed at Jake's place just to get some distance. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said, "Man, she doesn't respect you. She's rewriting the rules mid-game and expecting you to play along. If you let this slide, it'll only get worse." I wanted to argue, but he was right. Still, I wasn't ready to walk away. Not yet. I loved her too much. Or maybe I just loved who she used to be. When I went back home, I tried to talk to her again. I said, "If this is really what you want, then we're not compatible. I can't do this. I want monogamy. You don't. We should break up." She burst into tears. She said I was overreacting, that I was giving up on us, that I was too stubborn to try something new. She begged me not to throw away 3 years over one little change. One little change. As if opening the relationship wasn't the foundation everything else was built on. But I caved. Not to agreeing with her, I never said yes, but to staying. Because when you love someone that much, sometimes you'd rather twist yourself into knots than let go. So I stayed. And the weeks that followed were hell. She went on more dates. At first, she tried to hide the details, but eventually she started dropping them casually, like it was normal. "Oh, I grabbed drinks with Ryan after work." Or, "Mark showed me this cool bar downtown." Each name felt like a knife. Meanwhile, I was dying inside. I couldn't focus at work. I stopped sleeping properly. Every time my phone buzzed, I felt a rush of anxiety thinking it might be her telling me she was out with someone else. One night, I finally cracked and told her, "I feel like you're cheating on me." "Even if you call it something else," she snapped back. "Cheating is hiding it." "I'm not hiding anything. I'm being transparent. This is ethical non-monogamy. It's completely different. Different, maybe technically. But it didn't feel different to me. It felt like betrayal with a trendy label slapped on top. I started talking to my sister about it. She's usually more diplomatic than Jake, so I thought she might give me a balanced perspective. Her first reaction was cautious. She said, "Some people really do make open relationships work, but it has to be mutual." It doesn't sound like this was mutual. When I explained everything, the unilateral declaration, the way Anna dismissed my feelings, my sister's tone shifted. She said, "That doesn't sound like compromise. That sounds like she's bulldozing you." Hearing it put so plainly by someone who wasn't Jake hit me hard. Bulldozing. That's exactly what it felt like. But even with that validation, I still felt trapped. Because here's the paradox. I hated what she was doing, but I still loved her. I still wanted the version of her that used to curl up with me on the couch, laugh at dumb TV shows, and talk about our future. I couldn't just flip a switch and stop feeling that. The breaking point came one night when she came home with a hickey on her neck. She didn't bother hiding it. When I stared at it speechless, she just said, "What? Don't look at me like that." "You knew I was seeing other people," I snapped. I said, "Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me? You come home with marks on your body from another man and expect me to just..." "What? Pretend it's fine?" She rolled her eyes and said, "You're so insecure. This is why you'll never be happy in life. You cling to outdated ideas instead of embracing freedom." That was it. Something inside me broke. Not the love, not yet, but the illusion that we could ever get back to what we were. Because in that moment I realized she didn't see me as her partner anymore. She saw me as an obstacle to her freedom. And I started to wonder, was she always like this? Or did something change in her that I couldn't follow? After the hickey incident, something inside me shifted. Up until then, I was still holding on to this fantasy that maybe somehow she'd come back around. That this was just a phase or an experiment that would eventually run its course. But when she looked me in the eye and dismissed my pain as insecurity, I knew something was broken beyond repair. Still, I stayed. That's the part I'm least proud of. I should have left right then. But love makes you do stupid things. Or maybe it wasn't love anymore. Maybe it was attachment, fear of starting over, the sunk cost of 3 years together. Whatever it was, I didn't pack my bags that night. I went to bed in the same apartment with her, Milo curled up between us, feeling like a stranger in my own life. The following week was unbearable. Every time she left the house dressed up, my chest tightened. Every time her phone buzzed and she smiled at the screen, I felt sick. I started checking her social media more than I'd like to admit, scanning for clues about where she was going or who she was with. I hated myself for it. I'd never been that guy before, jealous, paranoid, snooping. But I didn't recognize myself anymore. One Friday night, she said she was going out again. I asked, with who? She just shrugged and said, a friend. I wanted to push, but I didn't. I stayed home, made myself some sad leftovers, and tried to distract myself with a video game. Around 1 a.m., I heard the door open. But it wasn't just her. There were voices, laughter, male laughter. My stomach dropped. I stood up, heart pounding, and there she was, walking in with some guy I'd never seen before. She had her arm casually slung around his shoulders, both of them tipsy and grinning like this was the most natural thing in the world. When she saw me, her face lit up. Oh, good, you're awake. I wanted you two to meet. Meet. As if this was a dinner party and not my girlfriend parading another man into our home. I froze, my hands clenched into fists without me realizing. You brought him here? To our place? She tilted her head, confused by my anger. Well, yeah, why not? This is part of it. Everyone should know each other. It's transparent, it's ethical. I turned to the guy. He looked just as awkward as I felt. His eyes darted between us like he'd just realized he'd walked into a minefield. I said through gritted teeth, "You need to leave, now!" To his credit, he didn't argue. He muttered something like, sure, man," and slipped out quickly. He looked embarrassed, like maybe she hadn't told him the full story about me. The second the door closed, I exploded. What the hell is wrong with you? This is our home. You don't get to parade your hookups through here like it's some kind of polycommune. Her face hardened. Stop calling them hookups. He's more than that. He's someone I care about, just like I care about you. Just like me? I shouted. No, not just like me. You don't get to put me on the same level as some random guy you've been seeing for 2 weeks. I'm your partner. I've been here for 3 years. I built a life with you. She fired back without missing a beat. That's exactly the problem. You think being here longer gives you more ownership of me. But love doesn't work like that. I went silent. Not because I agreed, but because I realized in that moment that we weren't even speaking the same language anymore. She wasn't seeing me as her boyfriend. She was seeing me as some stubborn roommate clinging to outdated rules. So I said, quietly but firmly, "Then we're done. Because I didn't agree to this. And I never will." Her eyes narrowed. You're really gonna throw this all away? Over your fear? Over your ego? I shook my head. No, you threw it away. The second you decided for both of us that we were in an open relationship. The second you stopped caring about what I wanted. The second you forgot that a relationship takes 2 yeses, not 1. For the first time in weeks, she didn't have a quick retort. She just stared at me, jaw clenched. Finally, she muttered, "Fine, if that's what you want." I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch with Milo staring at the blank TV screen, heart racing. I realized there was nothing left to salvage. The next morning, I packed a bag and went to Jake's. He didn't say, "I told you so." He just handed me a beer, let me collapse on his couch, and put on some mindless TV. It was the first time in weeks I felt like I could breathe. Over the next few days, I went back to the apartment to grab more of my things. Each time she acted like a stranger. No tears, no pleas, just coldness. The only time she showed any emotion was when I told her I planned to take Milo once I had a stable place. She crossed her arms and said, "He's fine here," I told her. "He's as much mine as yours. We adopted him together. I'll be back for him." She rolled her eyes but didn't fight me further. By the end of the week, I had most of my essentials moved out. Standing in that apartment for the last time was surreal. Every corner was full of memories. Our first Christmas tree, the shelf we built together, the stupid dent in the wall from when we tried to move the couch. And now it was just a shell of what it used to be. Before I left, she said one last thing. "I hope someday you learn to grow." I didn't respond. I just shut the door behind me. The weeks since then have been strange. On one hand, I feel gutted. 3 years of my life gone. A person I thought I knew better than anyone, now a stranger. Nights are the worst. Lying awake, replaying conversations, wondering if I missed red flags early on. But on the other hand, there's relief. Relief that I'm no longer twisting myself into knots trying to convince myself I'm okay with something that was killing me inside. Relief that I finally drew a line even if it was late. Jake tells me I dodged a bullet. My sister tells me I was brave for leaving. But part of me still wonders, was I stubborn? Was I unwilling to grow? Was I the asshole for refusing to accept her unilateral declaration? 'Cause she made me feel like a villain, like I was small-minded, controlling, selfish. Like wanting exclusivity meant I was backward. But I keep coming back to this. Love should be mutual. 2 yeses, not one person dictating the rules while the other gets dragged along. And if that makes me the asshole, then maybe I'd rather be one than live a life that isn't mine. After leaving, life felt empty. I was suddenly untethered from the routines and life I had built with Anna, and for the first few days, I wandered through the apartment I'd moved into temporarily at Jake's, feeling lost. The walls were bare, the couch uncomfortable. Milo wasn't there yet, and it hit me all at once. I wasn't just missing a girlfriend. I was missing my life. The version of my life I had imagined with her, the one where we'd grow old together, go on trips, argue about trivial things, binge-watch bad shows, and somehow come out stronger every time. That life was gone. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see anyone. I spent a lot of time staring at my phone, waiting for messages that would never come. Part of me hoped she'd reach out, apologize, or even just acknowledge that what she'd done had hurt me. But of course that didn't happen. She moved on quickly, posting pictures of her fun nights with friends, subtly highlighting that life went on without me in her little curated social media bubble. Each post felt like a punch in the gut. At first, I doubted myself. Was I really justified in leaving? Was I being petty, clingy, or controlling? Could I have tried harder, bent more, grown like she insisted? I went back to Reddit, lurking in our relationships and our AITA, reading post after post about people navigating open relationships. Most advice emphasized mutual consent, communication, and shared boundaries. That wasn't my situation. She had decided on her own, expecting me to accept it. Talking to Jake helped. He didn't try to coddle me. Dude, he said, she made her choice. You didn't. And honestly, it's a relief you didn't waste more time pretending to be okay with that nonsense. I nodded, but inside, I still felt torn. I loved her. Or at least I loved the idea of her, the person she had been when she was mine. Milo became my anchor. Picking him up, scratching behind his ears, seeing him purr, it reminded me of the normalcy I'd lost. Anna hadn't tried to cut me off from him, but seeing her on his social media posts sometimes made me furious. She'd post pictures of Milo curled up on her lap, captions like, "My little cuddle buddy," a subtle way of asserting ownership, I felt. Ownership over what was partly mine. The most difficult moments were reminders of shared memories. Walking past the coffee shop where we had our first date, seeing the aisle where we'd picked out our first Christmas tree, driving past the little park where we'd walked Milo on weekends. Every memory was a stab of nostalgia mixed with grief. I tried dating again. Not seriously, just casual, trying to see if I could reclaim something I had lost, reclaim control over my own life. I went on a few dates, kissed a few people, tried to feel something, but it didn't work. Every time I compared them to her. Every conversation triggered a memory of Anna. Every laugh reminded me of her. I realized I wasn't ready, not yet. Maybe not ever. Weeks passed. I found a new apartment, smaller but mine. Milo came to live with me permanently, and seeing him settle into a space that was just ours helped. Slowly, I started rebuilding. Grocery runs, cooking for one, decorating, establishing a routine. It was lonely but also grounding. I felt myself breathing again, taking back pieces of my life that had been swallowed by someone else's vision of freedom. I've had friends and family weigh in. Some say I was brave, others say I should have compromised. Some tell me I dodged a bullet, and some wonder if I overreacted. The truth is, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. What matters is what I can live with. And I realized I couldn't live in a relationship where my partner disregarded my feelings, made unilateral decisions, and normalized emotional pain as growth. Sometimes I imagine running into Anna in the future. I wonder what she'll think, whether she'll feel triumphant or whether she'll look back and realize what she lost. I don't hope for reconciliation, at least not anymore. I hope she's happy, but I also hope I never have to face that same betrayal again. And that's the crux of it, Reddit. Am I the asshole? Am I wrong for refusing to accept her unilateral declaration of an open relationship? For leaving instead of pretending to be okay with it? For loving her enough to want a future, but also respecting myself enough not to let that love be weaponized against me? Because right now I feel like a paradox. I'm grieving the person I loved, yet relieved I no longer have to navigate a daily nightmare of betrayal disguised as freedom. I'm hurt, angry and lonely, but I also feel a clarity I haven't had in months. I see that love, real love, is mutual. It's not dictated by one person's whims. It's two yeses, not one. I loved her, God knows I did, and maybe part of me always will. But love doesn't mean erasing yourself. It doesn't mean accepting a life that destroys you piece by piece. And if standing up for myself, for my right to a relationship that matches my values and boundaries, makes me the asshole, then I'll take that label. Because I'd rather be an asshole than live a life that isn't mine.